during his prime when he fought like Mustafa Hamsho and James and John the Beast Mugabe. Woo!
Marvin Hagler's tragedy affected his family and shook the world. The loss of the undisputed professional boxer is quite heartbreaking. This is the story of a man who lost his title and fame not in the ring, but to politics and injustice. Are you eager to find out what happened? Then keep watching to the end.
Marvin Hagler against Sugar Ray Seals. Hagler coming into the fight weighing 161.25 pounds.
The making of a champion. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, born Marvin Nathaniel Hagler, was an American professional boxer. His career and life as a boxer are quite emotional and interesting. From 1973 to 1987, Marvin competed in boxing, and he reigned as the undisputed champion of the middleweight division from 1980 to 1987. Throughout his career, he had 12 successful title defenses and only one knockout. Marvin's achievements in the boxing ring are outstanding. He also holds the highest knockout percentage of all undisputed middleweight champions at 78%. Marvin reigned as the middleweight champion for 6 years and 7 months. In boxing history, his reign is the second longest active reign of the 20th century. He also holds the record for the 6th longest reign as champion in middleweight history. At one point in his career, he was nicknamed the Marv. This annoyed him greatly, especially when network announcers kept on repeating the nickname. In anger, Marvin legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler in 1982. And everyone accepted the name Marvelous. Marvin is also an inductee of the International Boxing Hall of Fame and the World Boxing Hall of Fame. More than once, he was named the Fighter of the Year by The Ring magazine. Also, the Boxing Writers Association of America named him the Fighter of the Year as well. In the 1980s, Boxing Illustrated magazine also named him the Fighter of the Decade. His achievements continued, and in 2001 and 2004, The Ring named him the 4th greatest middleweight of all time. In 2002, they also named him the 17th greatest fighter for the past 69 years. The International Boxing Research Organization rates Marvin as the 6th greatest middleweight of all time, while BoxRec rates him the 29th greatest boxer of all time, pound for pound. Many analysts and boxing writers consider Marvin to have one of the most durable chins in boxing history. They arrived at this conclusion because throughout his entire career, he was knocked down only once. The lone knockdown, scored by Juan Roldan of Argentina, was debatable. Marvin's achievements are enticing to many. However, this legendary boxer had a rough and painful childhood. Let's find out. Born on May 23, 1954, Marvin became the first child of Robert Sims and Ida Mae Hagler. No one knew about his birth year until 1982, when he wanted to change his name legally. He was raised by his mother in the Central Ward of Newark, New Jersey, United States. Raising him and his 5 siblings, Veronica, Cheryl, Janara, Noreen, and Robbie Sims, was a tough task for their mother, yet she gave her best. When Marvin turned 10, he held a glove for the first time in his life. According to records, he put on the globe for a social worker, whom he knew only as Mr. Joe. Joe was the one who taught him sports and everything he needed to know. Along the way, he got involved in counseling other children. Marvin fell in love with sports and everything. Later, at the age of 14, he dropped out of school. Academics were not his strength. After dropping out, he started working in a toy factory. He took the job for one reason: to support the family and ease his mother's burdens. Ida Mae once recalled that her eldest son had always wanted to box, and he once promised to buy her a home. Despite all their challenges, Marvin lost his dreams, but he did not forget his ambitions. Growing up, he would often pretend he was Floyd Patterson or Emil Griffith. Life was hard, but he kept on forging ahead. Things got worse for the family in 1967 when a riot happened. The riots of 1967 killed 26 people and caused $11 million in property damage. The properties damaged included the destruction of the Haglers' tenement. For this reason, the family had to relocate and move to Brockton, Massachusetts. Another new phase and journey started for them. According to Marvin, during the riots, looking down on the streets at the looters was almost like watching ants on a picnic table. His mother also described the riots as really terrifying, and nobody left the Hagler apartment for 3 days. The whole family was terrified, and they had to lie under Veronica's bed during the riots. While they were hiding, many times, they watched the bedroom window smashed with a pair of bullets, and it shattered the plaster above the bed. Also, Marvin and his siblings were forbidden from standing up by their mom. She told them to stay away from the windows. The whole family crawled about the 5-room apartment, sliding around on cushions to reach the bathroom and kitchen. Once the riot was over, the nearby neighborhoods were largely in ruins, and many cars had been stripped for their parts. It was a traumatic experience for them. Whenever Marvin remembered this, he shared how he had to live in fear and anxiety of tomorrow. He later turned the fear and anxiety into boxing. In 1969, Marvin began boxing after being in a street fight with a local boxer called Dornell Wigfall. It happened that Wigfall had followed Marvin to a party. When they arrived, he took him outside and they fought. With his friends watching, Wigfall easily beat Marvin. To add to his wounds, he stole the jacket off Marvin's back. Marvin was humiliated. After that day, Marvin decided to become a boxer. His decision was born out of the pain and agony of being trampled upon. He took a bold step and entered Vinnie Vecchione's gym. Unknown to him, the gym was also the same place where Wigfall trained. Marvin stayed in the gym for 1 week, and after a week of watching, nobody spoke to him, so he decided to leave the place for good. Later, he walked into another gym owned by brothers Pat and Goody Petronelli. When he entered the gym, he felt at home and loved the place. The two brothers became his trainers and managers. The training was going fine, and Marvin was eager and ready to enter the ring. Unfortunately for him, ATU didn't measure up to 16, the standard for participating in amateur tournaments. Not moved by this, he lied about his age, saying that he was born in 1952 instead of 1954. He was allowed to participate. And, in May 1973, Marvin won the National Amateur Athletic Union 165 pounds title after defeating Terry Dobbs, a U.S. Marine from Atlanta, Georgia. Ahead of both Aaron Pryor and Leon Spinks, the officials also voted him the outstanding boxer of the tournament. Marvin, who had become a professional, finished his amateur career with a 55-1 record. Though Marvin had the skills and the wins, he was not recognized.
Now to the scene here in the sports pavilion, and we're coming up in just a couple of...
The long road to recognition. Marvin had numerous issues in securing the recognition and fame he deserved. He was a top-ranked middleweight boxer for many years before he fought for the title. One of his greatest challenges was that he had to struggle to find high-profile opponents who were willing to face him in his early years. Joe Frazier once told Marvin, "You have 3 strikes against you. You are black, you are a southpaw, and you are good." Despite being so good, it was hard for him to get the recognition amongst other top boxers. There were reports that he would often travel to his opponents' hometowns to get fights. He struggled to fight against the system, and his big break came when he was offered, on 2 weeks' notice, a chance against Willie Monroe, popularly known as The Worm. Frazier was training Willie at the time, and, due to the late notice, Marvin lost the decision, but the fight was close. Because of this, Willie gave him a rematch. During the rematch, Marvin knocked him out in 12 rounds. In a third fight, he defeated Willie in 2 rounds. After this big win, Marvin began to receive the recognition he had always sought. Boston promoter Rip Valenti took an interest in him and began bringing in top-ranked opponents for Marvin to face. Gradually, Marvin's strength and abilities were being revealed to the people. He fought with the 1972 Olympic gold medalist Sugar Ray Seales. During their first match together, Marvin won. Their second round was a draw. However, in the third round, Marvin knocked Seales out. Many people were shocked. Little did they know there was more to come. Marvin had another fight with the number 1 ranked Mike Colbert. He knocked him out in the 12th and also broke his jaw. Briton Kevin Finnegan, another opponent of Marvin's, was stopped in 8 and required 40 facial stitches. Briton dropped a controversial decision to Bobby Boogaloo Watts preceding those victories, but knocked him out in 2 rounds in a rematch. Marvin's streak of success earned him more fame than expected, and he kept on winning. He also won a 10-round decision over Bad Benny Briscoe, which ultimately concluded his Spectrum expedition. By then, he had caught the attention of promoter Bob Arum. Bob saw great talent in him and decided to sign him. Later, in November 1979, Marvin fought world middleweight champion Vito Ontuofermo at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. The fight made the headlines, and many people expected Vito to win. However, to their shock, Marvin seems to have the upper hand. When the fight was over after 15 rounds, most ringside observers claimed Marvin had won, even though Vito had been closing the gap in the second half of the fight. Unfortunately, Marvin was not declared the winner. This led to many controversies. Marvin claimed that referee Mills Lane had told him that he had won. After he made this statement, Lane denied ever saying that. Marvin further shared that he and many others at the ringside were surprised when the fight decision was announced as a draw. Judge Dwayne Ford scored the fight in Marvin's favor. However, Judge Dalby Shirley scored the bout for Vito as 144 to 142. Later, Judge Hal Miller scored the fight even. When Marvin saw the result, he became even more frustrated, as Vito retained his title with the draw. Marvin had the boxing skills and killer instinct to knock out his opponent, but instead, he played it safe. As Vito closed the gap late in the fight, that late surge cost Marvin the title. Marvin struggled more outside the ring than in the ring. He had to fight injustice many times. However, luck soon shone on him, and he became the middleweight champion. Let's see how it happened.
That guy was going to take his title, and there were plenty of people around ready to fasten onto that. So, I'm happy.
The Warriors' reign. Not long after this loss, Vito lost his title to British boxer Alan Minter. With the title out of Vito's reach, Marvin got a second title shot. Marvin went to Wembley Arena to face Minter. When he got there, the atmosphere was tense, and things got more intense when Minter made a derogatory remark. He said, "No black man is going to take my title." Later, Minter insisted that what he meant was that black man. Marvin took command, and his slashing punches soon opened up the cut-prone Minter. With Marvin dominating the action, referee Carlos Vertical halted the fight during the third round to have the 4 cuts on Minter's face examined. Many believed that Marvin may have become a bit aggressive due to Minter's comments. After examining Minter's cuts, his manager, Doug Bidwell, accepted defeat almost immediately. However, Carlos waved the bout off. The moment he did that, a riot broke out among the spectators. Clive Gammon of Sports Illustrated described the scene as a horrifying ululation of howls and boos. Due to the ruckus, Marvin and his trainers had to be escorted to their locker room by a phalanx of policemen, all the while enduring a steady rain of beer bottles and glasses. Marvin's opportunity came later. After 7 years and 50 fights, he was declared the world middleweight champion. He was elated. For him, it was more than just a title. It was a dream come true. However, with the title came lots of sacrifices. He became a busy world champion to preserve his position. He defeated future world champion Fulgencio Obel Mejias of Venezuela by a knockout in 8 rounds. Also, he made another success by defeating Vito in a rematch by TKO in 4 rounds. Both matches were fought at the Boston Garden near Marvin's hometown. This endeared him to Boston's fight fans. Syrian-born Mustafa Hamsho, who later defeated 3-division world champion Wilfred Benitez and future world champion Bobby Chiz, became Marvin's next challenger. The fight was a tough one. Hamsho put up a lot of resistance. Unfortunately for him, Marvin was tougher. After 11 tough rounds, he succumbed. Michigan fighter William Caveman Lee lasted only 1 round, and in a rematch in Italy, Obel Mejias lasted 5 rounds. Marvin continued to defeat great champions, and his reign was tough. British champion Tony Sibson was also among Marvin's unsuccessful challengers. Tony provided one of the most entertaining fights in Marvin's career. However, despite his efforts, he lasted only 6 rounds. Next came Wilfred Action, who only lasted 4. By then, Marvin was a staple on HBO, one of the first premium cable TV channels. Marvin's win did not stop with all these challengers. He had a great fight with 3 other boxing legends, and, to date, their fight will always be remembered.
He's not boxing as a southpaw. I just don't like that at all. Why he does that, I'll never know.
The Four Kings era. Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Thomas Hearns were regarded as the 4 kings in the boxing ring. Surprisingly, Marvin fought with all of them and made a mark in history. Let's explore the great fights. Starting with Roberto Duran, the two had a fight on November 10, 1983.
Ship of the world. The principles are familiar. Marvin Hagler in the burgundy trunks.
Roberto was the first challenger to last the distance with Marvin in a world championship bout. Roberto was the WBA light middleweight champion, and he moved up in weight to challenge Marvin for his middleweight crown. The match caught the attention of everyone who wanted to see what it meant for 2 champions to fight. Like a winner, Marvin won a unanimous 15-round decision, although after 13 rounds, Roberto was ahead by 1 point on 2 scorecards and even on the 3rd. The match was a fierce one, and Marvin sustained an injury in the process. Though his left eye was cut and swollen, he came on strong in the last 2 rounds to win the fight. Guy Jutras scored the bout 144 to 142. Judge Ove Ovesen scored it 144 to 143. Judge Yusaku Yoshida scored it 146 to 145. After this win, Juan Roldan of Argentina challenged Marvin. He proved to be a tough opponent, as he became the only man credited with a knockdown of Marvin, scoring 1 mere seconds into the fight. Marvin protested bitterly that he had been pushed to the canvas. In anger, Marvin thumbed Roldan's left eye and brutalized him over 10 rounds. He stopped in the middle of round 10. Sugar Ray Leonard, who was watching the fight, was calling the fight ringside with HBO analyst Barry Tompkins. He noted to Tompkins between rounds that Marvin looked older and slower. He remarked, "Marvin might finally be slowing down, Barry." This, according to People, made Sugar believe that he could win against Marvin if he challenged him. He later challenged him. Before we get to their fight, let's talk about Hamshow's rematch. After Marvin's match with Juan, Hamshow got a rematch, but once again, he was TKO'd. This time, it happened in just 3 rounds. During the second round, Marvin annoyed Hamshow with a trio of intentional headbutts and a 4th early in the 3rd. This pushed Marvin into a full-out attack that left Hamshow battered and defenseless in a few seconds. After defeating Hamshow, Marvin went ahead to destroy Thomas Hearns. On April 15, 1985, Marvin met Thomas in what was billed as The Fight, which later became known as The War, 021-026. It was a bloody fight. The first round was full of 3 minutes of violence. Within the first 15 seconds, Thomas had landed his best punch, a straight right on Marvin's chin. The punch affected Marvin, who took a step back at first. Later, he got his balance and came forward. At that point, he began to walk through Thomas's punches. During the second round, Marvin was cut on his head from an unintentional headbutt. Blood was streaming down his face, and despite the blood, he continued to push the fight forward. The 2 champions were wounded. Thomas suffered a broken right hand in the last minute of the first round. However, the pace continued as before, but it was obvious to everyone that Thomas was only trying his best to move around the ring. Later, his trainer Emmanuel Stewart revealed that he had a leg massage, much to Stewart's dismay, before the fight. By the end of the second round, Thomas's legs were weakening. In the third round, his pace had slowed until referee Richard Steele called a timeout to have the ringside doctor examine the cut on Marvin's head. The crowd was on its feet for the next 10 seconds, waiting to hear what the doctor would say. They only calmed down when the doctor allowed the fight to continue. Marvin charged the much taller Thomas, drilling in an overhand right behind Thomas's ear. With Thomas's weakened legs, Marvin got the chance he wanted and hit him harder. Thomas toppled to the canvas and then rose at the count of 8, but he collapsed into referee Steele's arms. At that point, the fight was halted. The fight lasted only 8 minutes and 1 second, but it was regarded as a classic. Commentator Al Michaels uttered the famous line, "It didn't go very far, but it was a beauty." The fight was later named Fight of the Year by The Ring. After this fight, Marvin fought Mugabe before his final fight, which ultimately led to his demise.
It said that the first round is going to be the most important round of the fight. He says he has to win.
The controversial ending. Marvin's end came sooner than everyone expected. His challenger, Sugar Ray Leonard, was returning to the ring after a 3-year retirement. He engaged in a pre-fight negotiations with Marvin. During their negotiations, Sugar requested a 22 by 22 foot ring instead of a smaller ring. He also requested for a 10-ounce gloves instead of 8-ounce gloves. In addition, he demanded that the fight be 12 rounds instead of the 15 rounds favored by Marvin. Marvin, on the other hand, will get the larger share of the purse. Marvin agreed to his terms and conditions. Sugar was 2 years younger than Marvin. However, unknown to Marvin, Sugar had had many real fights behind closed doors to shake off his ring rust. The fight took place at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas on April 6, 1987. Many people placed their bets on Marvin. Why not? After dominating for 6.5 years as the reigning undisputed middleweight champion of the world, he was the best bet. Also, it was Sugar's first fight at middleweight. Their fight was to be for Marvin's WBC, lineal, and ring middleweight titles only, as the WBA had stripped Marvin of his belt for choosing to face Sugar instead of the WBA's mandatory challenger, Harold Graham. If Marvin knew, he would have obeyed them. The IBF, while keeping Marvin as their champion, also refused to sanction his fight against Sugar and said that the IBF middleweight title would be declared vacant if Marvin lost to Sugar. Despite all the opposition, Marvin went ahead with the match. Marvin, who was a natural southpaw, opened the fight boxing out of an orthodox stance. After the quick and slick Sugar had won the first 2 rounds on all 3 scorecards, Marvin started the 3rd round as a southpaw. Then, he did much better. Marvin was having the upper hand. However, Sugar's superior speed and quick flurries kept him in the fight. By the 5th, Sugar, who was moving a lot, got tired, and Marvin started to get closer. As Sugar got tired, he began to clinch with more frequency. Marvin buckled Sugar's knees with a right uppercut near the end of the round, which finished with Sugar on the ropes. Marvin continued to score in round 6. Though Sugar had slowed down, he was determined to fight more and run less. Later, when they got to rounds 7 and 8, Marvin's southpaw jab was landing solidly, and Sugar's flurries were less frequent. In round 9, Marvin hurt Sugar with a left cross and pinned him in a corner. The action seesawed for the rest of the round, with each man having his moments. Marvin continued to press forward, and Sugar slowly got a second wind. Though he was tired, Sugar still boxed well in the 11th round. Every time Marvin scored, Sugar came back with something flashier, if not as effective. In the final round, Marvin continued to chase Sugar. He hit him with a big left hand and backed him into a corner. Sugar responded with a flurry and danced away with Marvin in hot pursuit. The fight ended with Marvin and Sugar exchanging blows along the ropes. Marvin started dancing in celebration of his performance, while Sugar collapsed to the canvas and raised both his arms in triumph. Sugar had thrown 629 punches and landed 306 punches. Marvin, on the other hand, threw 792 punches and landed 291. Marvin later shared that as they embraced in the ring after the fight, Sugar said to him, "You beat me, man." This statement made Marvin happy. However, Sugar denied making the statement and said that he only told Marvin, "You are a great champion." However, HBO cameras and microphones supported Marvin's version of the story. Sugar was announced as the winner and new middleweight champion of the world by split decision. Many people believed that it was an injustice, and Marvin deserved to win. The result remains a major dispute to date. The Marvin vs. Sugar fight divided their fans, pundits, press, and ringside observers, arguably more than any other fight in boxing history. In Sugar's defense, Judge Jojo Guerra said, "Leonard outpunched Hagler, outsmarted him, outboxed him. He looked just great. Sugar Ray Leonard was making him miss a lot, and then counterpunching him. Sugar Ray Leonard was beating him to the punch. They should call him Marvelous Sugar Ray Leonard. Boxing is the art of self-defense, and Sugar Ray was in command at all times. He was very fast and he was very clever. He made Marvin Hagler come to him. He dictated the fight." Also, many people blame Marvin for starting the match in an orthodox stance. Marvin expressed his displeasure at the result. However, the one thing he could never win against was the politics behind the ring. He requested a rematch, but Sugar decided to retire again. This was the 3rd of 5 high-profile retirements announced by Sugar during his career. Unable to bear the pain and injustice, Marvin decided to retire. He took this decision 14 months after their match. Additionally, another reason he took the drastic step was after watching WBA middleweight champion Sumbu Kalambe prevail over his brother, Robbie Sims, by unanimous decision. This made Marvin believe that injustice was one thing he could never win against, for as long as he remained in the ring. He declared that he was tired of waiting for Sugar to grant him a rematch. On June 13, 1988, to the dismay of his fans, the legendary Marvin Hagler retired. A month after his retirement, Sugar announced another boxing comeback to fight against WBC light heavyweight champion Donnie Lalonde at the 168-pound super middleweight limit. Later, in 1990, Sugar finally offered Marvin a rematch, which reportedly would have earned him $15 million. Guess what? Marvin refused. By that time, not only had he retired, but he had also started a new life entirely. He moved to Italy, where he pursued a career as an actor. He acted in movies like Indio, which was released in 1989, and Indio 2, which was later released in 1991. Also in 1997, he starred alongside Terence Hill and Giselle Blondet in Virtual Weapon. Marvin also provided boxing commentary for British television. Another foray by Marvin into the entertainment field included work on the video game Fight Night Round 3. There, he fell in love with acting and lost interest in boxing. He said, "A while ago, yeah, I wanted him so bad, but I'm over that." At the 1994 Consumer Electronics Show, Marvin and Sugar had a mock rematch by playing against each other in the video game Boxing Legends of the Ring. The duo claimed that an actual rematch was being planned, though it never happened. After his retirement, Marvin also prioritized his family and spent time with them. He had 5 children with his first wife, Bertha, and he made sure to shower his love on them all. Although he owned a home in Bartlett, New Hampshire, Marvin ended up living in Milan. In May 2000, he married his second wife, Kay, an Italian, in Pioltello, Italy. The real tragedy happened when Marvin's death was announced. Everyone was shocked. On March 13, 2021, Marvin's wife, Kay, announced that he had died of natural causes at his home in New Hampshire. The legendary champion died of a heart attack at 66 years old. His son, James, said his father was taken to a New Hampshire hospital after experiencing chest pains and difficulty breathing. It was a tragic loss, and the news was welcomed with tears and emotional scenes. The extraordinary boxer died an ordinary death. His life and challenges saddened everyone. Despite being so great in the ring, he was hindered by politics and injustice. What do you think about Marvin's tragic end? Do you also believe he was treated unfairly? Which of his matches intrigues you the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos displayed on your screen.